He doesn't like me. He likes Cecile. Well, not Cecile, me Cecile, so he does like me. Oh, criminy, I'm a basket case.
And you're locked into another episode of the Analeo podcast. My name is Josh, and we're glad to be back with you once again this week, making that intersection between faith and animation and delivering those redemptive analogies you've come to know and love. And it is Valentine's Day, the day that this episode is coming out. So if you're listening to it on Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day, whether you're celebrating with your sweetheart or whether you're celebrating Singles Awareness Day, we want to express our gratitude and love towards you today, because whether it's familial love, friendship love, everybody deserves some type of affection today. I wouldn't be where I am today without my sweetheart, Rebecca.
Hey guys, happy Valentine's Day. You know what's funny, Josh? There's two things that I just realized.
Yeah.
One, our colors on the video version of the podcast match up. Your half of the screen is blue and my half is pink. Did you do that on purpose?
I did, actually.
That's nice. I like that. Okay.
And it comes full circle with our pop filters and everything like that. Oh, and you know, we are on brand today. I'm wearing the blue hoodie. Or
Oh my gosh, yes. So funny.
On sync
Check
today.
out the video version for
This
that.
is a wonderful Valentine's Day already.
The second thing I realized, Josh, is that you are my only Valentine that I've ever had on Valentine's Day.
Aw,
Mm-hmm.
that's so sweet.
Have you ever had someone else on Valentine's Day?
Well,
Like,
no
been
one
with
else.
someone?
No one else matters.
That's a good answer. I wouldn't have been mad if you had said yes, but that's a good
I
answer.
know how to play the game. I know how to play the game. But honestly, every Valentine's Day has been very special with you, and just like getting to spend time together, regardless of whatever we do, whether we go out to dinner, whether we stay home and just have a charcuterie board, whatever it might be. And speaking of sweethearts, that is actually one of the first things that you gave me.
Yeah, the little conversation hearts.
Right. Yeah, the things that
did.
I didn't eat them because they taste like chalk.
Yeah, who actually eats them and really enjoys them? I don't know. It's more about the conversation than anything.
But I kept those like in a little memory box or lock box for like so many years. I think they're still in there.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, don't eat those. That was like 8 years ago.
It was 8 years ago. But yeah, our first day was the day after Valentine's Day. Special date. And in honor of Valentine's Day, we're going to be discussing one of my favorite animated TV show specials, and that is Hey Arnold, Arnold's Valentine. And for those of you who watched my Hey Arnold Christmas special, this will kind of follow along the same lines of how that was put together. And the only thing that will be different is Rebecca is here this time, so there'll be a little bit more commentary. It'll still be on the shorter side, as when we do a TV episode, they're not as lengthy as we do a movie or a series or something like that. So, Rebecca, if you'll give us a brief synopsis on what this episode is about.
Well, it's Valentine's Day for Arnold and the crew, and Arnold has double booked himself for Valentine's Day dinner with two ladies. He first reaches out to a sixth grader who is 2 grades above him.
The illustrious Ruth McDougal.
Ooh. And he gives her a Valentine and signs it anonymous and tells her to meet him at a restaurant. Well, Helga is up to her usual shenanigans, and she decides to impersonate Arnold's pen pal named Cecile from France. And so she ends up suggesting the restaurant that is right across the street from the other place where Arnold has decided to meet Ruth. And Gerald gives some sage advice, as we'll talk about. And that's what the episode is about.
Yep. So short, sweet, in a nutshell. And keep in mind, these characters are in 4th grade, with the exception of Ruth, she's in 6th grade. But Arnold, Gerald, Helga, 4th grade, 9 years old, and having to deal with, this very,
Very adult situation, which I think it makes it funnier, particularly from an adult's perspective, seeing these little 9-year-olds sitting at a French place to eat, French restaurant. And you're like, what are you doing? How did you pay for all of this? How are you expecting to, I don't know. It's funny.
yeah, because those French restaurants, they ain't cheap. So with this episode, we want to unpack a few key points. We open up with Arnold and his classmates who are writing Valentines to somebody they care about or somebody special. Arnold is writing this, what he thinks is the greatest Valentine in the world for Ruth, and Helga is having issues with putting her feelings to paper. Arnold signs his Valentine to Ruth via anonymous, and Gerald rightly calls out, why don't you just sign it? I mean, she's not going to know who it's from. It's like, yeah, she'll just know. Tell us no. Plot twist. He doesn't.
Wrong. This boy is a liar. I've thought about that quote from last week often.
It was a good episode. If you missed last week's episode where we did a condition called love, go ahead and check that out. And so Miss Slodak passes out the letters from the overseas pen pals to the students. Helga is always complaining that she never gets anything from her pen pal, because it looks like they're from what would be a third world country, and it just says, please send money.
Which would not fly as a joke
would not.
today.
No. But again, different time. And what happened next, you had an issue with, Rebecca.
I did. The teacher is like, oh, Arnold, you have a letter from Cecile, your pen pal in France. And she's like, looks like she's about to hand it to him. And then the bell rings. And she's like, oh, sorry, you can't have it. She puts it back in the bag. Why would you do that? Why not just give it to him?
And we learn later because that is just to move the plot along.
And it's the only reason, because that's silliness. And that's it right there.
So one of the first key points I wanted to break down here is the idolizing of love. And I think we've all done this many times when we've been interested in somebody that we don't know a lot about, or, getting in love with the idea of the person. And we only know them from the outside appearance. And this is directly correlated to Arnold's infatuation with Ruth McDougal. The only thing that he knows about her is her name is Ruth, she's in 6th grade, and she's very attractive. And that's about it. Rebecca, what are the dangers of idolizing, love or affection?
Well, I mean, you just said it right there. You don't really love the person because you don't know who they are. People are complicated and messy. And until you truly know them as a real person, you get to know their thoughts, their feelings, their dreams, their hopes, their fears. All of that is a part of a person. Their scars. And that's such an important part of making a connection. It's not just about appearance or what they can give you or anything like that. True connection, true love is so much deeper. You got to get to know the real person on the inside.
You do, because if you just know just surface stuff, your relationship isn't going to really be that deep. Like, if I only knew for Rebecca for what she did as a profession or her looks or whatnot, we wouldn't have many of the deep conversations that we've had over the years. And those really help to build and shape the relationship throughout time.
It reminds me of when Samuel was going out actually and looking for a new king that God was going to appoint. And in 1 Samuel 16:7, God says, I think he says to Samuel, basically the idea is people look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Like, don't look at what makes a man, what makes a king for outward appearance. It's what goes on the inside, and what makes a person is on the inside. That's what really matters.
It makes me think of an episode of The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh when Tigger loses his stripes and he tries to go through all these avenues because that's his identity. And Eeyore, with all his wisdom and gleaning knowledge, says, "Well, hey Tigger. So why? That's the third time that you call me Tigger. So well, you are, aren't you?" He's like, "Well, no, I got no stripes." He's like, "It doesn't matter. You're always Tigger on the inside. It's all in the stuffing." So there's some sage old advice from the 100-Acre Wood there.
That goes into like many different circumstances that we do not have to get into at the moment.
Yeah,
but
we've only got
it goes
so
into so much. But yeah, it is. It's what's on the inside that counts, that makes a person a person.
And could we say the same for Helga? I mean, she has known Arnold since preschool, but they really haven't had many interactions together that are like quote unquote meaningful. They just really had like altercation.
Helga's an interesting case because she has watched Arnold for a long time, and it isn't just his appearance, it was how kind he is. That's what really drew her to him. And honestly, it's probably because she doesn't get that kind of love at home.
Yeah, there is an episode titled Helga on the Couch where Helga goes to see a therapist or a child psychologist. And we really get to see a lot of the background of what started that infatuation. And you can see that her older sister Olga, is the one that is very idolized and very praised by her parents. And yet Helga is treated as a second-class citizen.
She has this deep passion, and yet she can't seem to let herself be kind to Arnold for some reason. Probably because kindness is not modeled to her. Like, true kindness isn't modeled to her in her family life. Olga is nice, but it seems like, at least from Helga's perspective, it's like nice with something underneath going on. It's not nice to just be nice. And so I think all she really knows how to be is mean. That's what was interesting about this episode, is that she finally like let her guard down when pretending to be someone else instead of just herself. Even at the very end, we end up seeing Helga walk away from the dinner and she's like, "He likes me. He really likes me." And then she's like, "Wait, he thinks I'm Cecile, but I was me as Cecile. So he likes me." As she was confused as she's walking away. But I think Arnold somewhere deep down, he does. They've known each other for a while.
Yeah, that kind of the infection, grows over time as the series prolongs.
Yeah. I mean, they are only 9.
Yeah, again, keep in mind, 9 years old, having all these complicated emotions.
Well, and kids are complicated.
They're messy. They're messy.
They are. They have a lot going on in their little heads, and things that they're worried about and things that they are excited about. And I think adults forget a lot of times what it's like to be a kid, and they're not stupid. They're not ignorant. They are very aware of what's going on because they've had to be for their whole little lives. They've had to look at other people and get social cues from them. And they're very intelligent little people. And children are children. They're not just little adults. That may sound like a weird statement, but we learned in human growth and development class that you cannot treat children the same way that you treat adults. They're not just like little versions of adults. Which, anyway, is important to know as you deal with kids. They've got their own thoughts and feelings and, all that.
Let's move on to the topic of unrequited love.
Unrequited
and this
love.
kind of goes directly. I've been there. You've been there.
I think that's the worst.
It is when you're pining for somebody, and you built this fantasy or this idea in your mind, and you go out on that limb and ask them out or express your feelings, and then it's not reciprocated. I mean, it's a hit. I mean, or at least for guys, it's a real hit to the ego.
Yeah. It reminds me of The Holiday. Do you remember the beginning of The Holiday?
It's been a bit since I've seen it.
It has been quite a while for me as well. I would love to watch that again, actually. Maybe we should do that tonight. But yeah, The Holiday, where Kate Winslet is at her office, and she ends up going to America to do the house swap because she had been in an unrequited love situation. And she goes off on this rant. I forget what she says, but she goes off on this rant about unrequited love and how sad it is to be in an unrequited love situation. She was like, I think the guy had told her that we're just a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. It's just never going to work. And he was a real jerk to her. But yeah, unrequited love, man. It sucks because it's like there's no end. You have to be the one to realize that it's never going to happen. Now, sometimes you're both feeling the unrequited love situation, and then it turns out it is reciprocated, and you got to go out on a limb. But if the person has already come out and said, I don't actually like you in a romantic way, then you got to carry that yourself. And that is a heavy, heavy burden. That just sucks, honestly. Man, it is the worst. I did that for how long? Man, it was a good 4 years. 4 years, 4 or 5 years. Yeah. That's how much, how long? Although can we call it love? I don't think so. At least not in my case.
Attraction at first sight, a lot of people say.
Crush.
Yeah, crush. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a glutton for punishment, though. I asked several times, do you like me now?
How about now?
Still, no.
Yeah, once you get the no, at least for me, I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I didn't go 2 for 3.
Oh yeah, I just really wanted to hurt myself.
Gosh. Well, this got dark.
I know.
Oh gosh.
It was a guy in my friend group in high school, and we even went to prom together as friends. I think I asked again after prom. Still a no. I was going through a weird time in life then anyway. Anyway, unrequited love, Helga and her struggles. Let's stick to that.
Yeah, a little bit more lighter things. And Helga's put on this masquerade because she is impersonating Cecile, Arnold's pen pal. And so Helga's going to try to get that affection from Arnold by acting as someone else. But it doesn't really go well because, she's changed her appearance a little bit. Arnold must not be that astute.
I mean, he is 9.
Yeah, he is 9.
As we've established.
But it's like Helga did the whole like Clark Kent, like glasses on, glasses
totally.
on. It's like, oh no, I never knew.
Her stripes are just in a different place.
That's right.
Still the same pink and red.
Yeah. Which I love that little detail that they still kept that. Helga asked during the dinner date if there is anyone that Arnold likes in, his class or a girl at school, really fishing for that information because she's hoping that somewhere deep, deep down, he really, likes, this girl because he brings up Helga. And, what do you notice about her especially?
Well, she kind of, I don't know, she bugs me sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know what bugs means. Not the crawly kind, but...
I know what bugs means.
Well, it's because she's so mean to him.
Yeah, I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole definition of insanity. Do everything over and over at the same time in the same way, expecting a different result. For me, if I was Helga, wanted to start a relationship or a dating scenario or what have you, I would not start it off on a lie. Wouldn't you agree, Rebecca?
I would. That is not a good start to the relationship. At some point, you're going to have to fess up and say what's actually going on. I mean, if this continues, this is true with any relationship. A relationship started on lies is a shaky foundation. Very shaky.
Yeah, it's not solid at all. And you shouldn't have to change yourself just to please someone else. Now, if you're changing for yourself to better yourself, that's a completely different, subject altogether. But changing, the way you look or your hairstyle or everything about your complete identity almost to just
Well,
suit.
for Helga, it was her whole
It
identity.
was. Yeah, you're right, and that's why I bring it up. But to do all that just to get somebody to maybe like you, I mean that's too much of an effort for me personally. Because then you have to keep up that level of what they see you as. So you've also put yourself up on a pedestal, and you may not be able to survive on that pedestal for very long.
Yeah, that is very true. There are some people who have a 3-date rule. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's like a 3-date rule where you be on the best behavior for the first 3 dates. Then by date 4, you're like, okay, we're kind of in this to really, really try it out. And that's when you start showing more of who you actually are, like a deeper level. So it's more, to me, that's not lying. That's more of all right, we've got skin level,
Yeah,
surface level of intimacy or
right.
getting to know each other, that whole thing. And then when you get kind of past that 3rd date, you go, okay, I'm ready to tell you a little bit more about myself and let you see some of the scars and difficult things in my past. So it's a level. That's not lying, I don't think.
But going back to what we were saying about not changing yourself to to gain approval or somebody else's love, this kind of goes with the Romans 5:8. And Rebecca, would you mind reading that for us?
Yeah. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And this is definitely a sacrificial love. Christ loved us to die for us and to bring us back into right relationship with God. And I don't know, that's kind of what we have to do on a smaller scale with our partners, people we date, our husbands or wives, or the Bible also says, I think it's in Ephesians, men are called to love their wives as Christ loved the church, and women are called to love their husbands. I forget how, but or what the Bible says there. But that's the idea, to love each other with a sacrificial love, seeing each other's faults and still choosing to love them once you've committed into a relationship.
As Rebecca was saying, Christ loved us while we were still sinners. So if Helga kind of laid off, on Arnold football head and geekwad and whatever and tried to be a little bit nicer, Arnold could probably like her even though she has some rough edges. I have rough edges. Rebecca still loves me. And, God loves us for all the rough edges that we have because he's shaping and forming us, if you're a believer in him who accepted it. So let's get to our last point, which is expectations versus reality in relationships. Once again, we have all been there, going back to the filling up this fantasy, the idea of somebody.
It's all those book boyfriends. Man, they are just in books. And a lot of them, at least the ones I've been reading recently, need to stay in books. They do not belong in reality. But they are great stories. But yeah, we can get so caught up in the fantasy of what we think we want, and reality is something different.
And we have this interaction between Ruth and Arnold because Ruth thinks he's just a busboy. and not like the actual anonymous date that the Valentine was from. And they have like this conversation that Ruth is just telling Arnold about, her hair style throughout the years. And you can tell that, oh, this isn't what I thought. He's like, oh gosh, that's amazing. You just see it all on his face.
Yeah, it was not what he was expecting, but it's because he didn't really know her. One of my favorite things about the episode was when Gerald was asking Arnold, well, what do you really know about Ruth? He was like, she's pretty and sophisticated and whatever. And Gerald was like, no, those are all things on the outside. That's just what you can see with your eyes.
Yeah, what do you know about
what do you
her?
really know? And Arnold was like,
well, for one
don't.
thing, it kind of starts with that track.
Yeah, he couldn't say anything. And I thought that was a really good question from Gerald. Just to say, like, yeah, what do you really know about this person? Because you can have an immediate, like, sort of attraction to a person, but what do you really know about them? That's what's important, as we talked about earlier.
And so we have that realization versus the conversation that Helga and Arnold have over at Chez Paris, the other restaurant. And again, Helga is impersonating Cecile. And Arnold comes back from his date or his conversation with Ruth. And Helga, President Cecile, asks, well, is everything all right? And Arnold says, well, when you think you know somebody or like you were attracted to them, but once you got up close, they weren't who you thought they weren't who you thought they were. Ugh, that is
You have no idea.
yeah. It's sitting right in front of her.
Yeah.
But Helga quotes, here I'll just play the clip of what she says after that.
Maybe she is not the girl for you. Maybe the girl for you is someone you didn't expect. After all, the most beautiful gift can come in the plainest box.
I think you're right.
The most beautiful gift come in the plainest box. And I love that line from this episode because it's all about the expectation versus the reality, which is why I kind of want to end on this point. You can see a relationship and it may not look glamorous or it may not be the prettiest, but showing that to that inside and between two people, like people may look at our relationship and say, oh, well, it's just an average relationship or doesn't look that pretty on the outside, but to us, we may be homebodies sometimes, but we go out and whatnot. But to us, our relationship is beautiful. I love it. One thing I also want to read, just as a side note, is the music in Hey Arnold. Love it because it's jazz. It's really that urban kind of feel. Because I feel today that American cartoons are all for, haha, funny every like 30 seconds almost. Yeah, it's like, okay, fart joke and gag and whatnot. And just literal. That's basically what SpongeBob was or is.
And not that as isn't fun sometimes, but like all of the shows seem to be like that.
What I loved about 90s cartoons, such as Hey Arnold, is they dealt with difficult and adult themed subjects and they handled it in a very kid friendly way. I wish that we could get some of that back, but I feel today's media just plays it way too safe.
Some does a good job. Like Atla is a really good
Avatar,
example of a good one.
Yes.
There's a couple of others, but there's not many.
Well, we hope that you all are having a great Valentine's Day or Singles Awareness Day or spending it with those that you care about and love. Our love series just doesn't stop on Valentine's Day. We're going to go the next 2 weeks of February, not honing in on just Valentine's Day, but again, all about the subject of love and romance and the different kinds of affection. So stick around. If you like this episode, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you're not already, and ring the bell for notifications so that you're notified every time that we upload a new video. And until next time, keep those halos shiny and stay holy, my friends.